Welcome back. Let's now turn our attention to one of the major developments of the last week or so in the criminal justice system. President Cyril Ramaphosa officially establishing a commission of inquiry into the fitness of Advocate Andrew Chauke to continue serving as Director of Public Prosecutions in Gauteng. This follows serious allegations that have cast a shadow over the integrity of the National Prosecuting Authority. Suspended since July, Advocate Chauke now faces a formal inquiry under Section 12, Subsection 6 and Paragraph A of the National Prosecuting Authority Act. The inquiry will investigate whether Chauke is fit and proper to hold office, following accusations of politically motivated prosecutions and shielding powerful individuals from justice. Retired Constitutional Court Justice Bess Nkabinde will chair the inquiry, joined by Advocate Elizabeth Baloyi-Mere SC and Attorney Thenjiwe Vilakazi. The panel has 4 months to deliver its findings to the President. Among the allegations there is Chauke's role in pursuing racketeering charges against former Hawks head Johan Booysen and the Katomena unit, despite a lack of evidence, and his alleged involvement in quashing cases against politically connected figures like former crime intelligence boss Richard Mdluli. So let's go straight then to this panel and start the discussion. I'm joined by Dr. Moshikaro, who is a senior lecturer in jurisprudence and criminal law, and former Hawks KZN head Johan Booysen, who was hotly pursued, as I said, by Chauke, as well as former senior state prosecutor for the NPA and now DA member of Parliament, Breytenbach. Let me start with you, Dr. Moshikaro, just laying the ground for us in terms of the applicable prescripts of law. I've seen public commentary, especially on social media, when the president announced that there's going to be an inquiry, the immediate reaction being, knee-jerk reaction being, oh no, not another inquiry. Does the president have a choice in this matter?
Well, yes, he does have a choice. He could, of course, have a commission of inquiry, or this could be an internal investigation conducted by the NPA, sort of in-house, and it could have been conducted as such. But in this case, actually, it does make some sense to have a commission of inquiry, precisely because one doesn't really know exactly what the extent of the impropriety or institutional failure of the NPA in Mr. Chauke's case actually was. So an independent investigation, I suppose, can be justified.
Advocate Breytenbach, do you concur? This is appropriate in the circumstances, is it?
Yes, absolutely. The profile of the individual is a Director of Public Prosecutions of the largest division in the country. Certainly, the profile of the matters that he is alleged to have interfered with are high-profile matters, and I think in the interest of transparency, it's absolutely correct to have a commission of inquiry. But don't forget that this commission of inquiry and the suspension was asked for nearly 3 years ago by Advocate Baloyi. It's taken this long for the president to institute this commission.
Yeah. And Mr. Booysen, just from your perspective, your experiences in dealing with, the prosecutorial system as led by Advocate Andrew Chauke at the time when you were the head of the Hawks in KZN, and in the wake of the many allegations that were leveled against you and your colleagues at the time. What was that experience like? There are all sorts of allegations being made now, but you have lived experience of having encountered his manner of doing business.
Well, thank you. I think one has to look at the inquiry into the broader context of state capture and the evidence that came out during the Zondo Commission of Inquiry. Perhaps there's a slight difference with this inquiry. And this inquiry, the presiding officers has to decide whether or recommend whether Advocate Chauke is fit to remain in office or not. At the time of my evidence at the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, I testified about a number of prosecutors that were invariably involved in all these sensitive cases that I, at the time, testified were involved in state capture.
And some of the charges that were being pursued against you, Mr. Booysen, if I stick with you for a moment, included the charges of racketeering. And you and I know the complexities of prosecuting racketeering, requiring as it does the concurrence of the National Director of Public Prosecutions at the highest level. Just talk to me about your sense of just due diligence, whether you felt at the time that due diligence was being done by the Director of Public Prosecution in leveling such a serious crime, such a complex crime.
Well, you said yourself that to prosecute a person for racketeering, it has to be authorized in writing by the national head of the prosecuting authority, which at the time was Advocate Thenjiwe. The Moshikaro Commission of Inquiry had already established that no due diligence was followed. As a matter of fact, no process was followed at all during the first prosecution that I was subjected to. And then that was ultimately overturned by the High Court in KwaZulu-Natal during my review application. And then when Sean Abrams re-prosecuted me exactly on the same evidence, if you look at the Cock report that came out later on, it was merely a repetition of what the court had already ruled was inadmissible, or that there was no evidence to link myself or the Cato Manor members to the charges of racketeering.
Advocate Breytenbach, for someone walking in and watching us now and hearing this conversation, there's a classic South African question: Wenzeni, what has this person done? How do you sum up a question and answer to the question that says, Wenzeni Chauke? What has Chauke done? Just capture for us the cluster of allegations spanning a period of time.
Well, there are many allegations, as General Booysen has already said. In the Zondo Commission, a lot of evidence was laid in this regard with regards to state capture. So, you need to bear in mind that as long ago as the death of Brett Kebble, there were already issues surrounding Mr. Chauke. And he resigned then, at the time of the death of Brett Kebble. He gave 24 hours notice and vacated his office immediately because there were then already allegations of an inappropriate relationship between himself and Kebble. He was brought back, of course, by Menzi Simelane, who brought back Jiba and Mkhwebi, who were also suspended, and these people all brought back under a cloud of secrecy with settlements that were kept secret, even though it's public money, taxpayers' money. The quantum of those settlements, the detail of those settlements, never made public, and now there are these allegations against Chauke. It's clear that both he and Abrams and Jiba went after, particularly General Booysen, on the basis of no evidence whatsoever, and that has been found on more than one occasion in more than one competent court. So it's an absolute disgrace. Those are very serious allegations. The Director of Public Prosecutions is supposed to exercise his powers, which are considerable, fairly, rationally, reasonably, with great care and with great integrity. And Mr. Chauke failed to do that on a variety of different fronts.
And Dr. Moshikaro, what's at stake here? What are the stakes in terms of the rigors of the inquiry, as well as efforts to try and restore, if not preserve, public trust in the National Prosecuting Authority, restoring that trust that says these senior people that lead prosecutions in various provinces can be trusted to make decisions purely based on the evidence presented to them by the investigators, as opposed to other considerations that are not necessarily before all of us?
Well, what's at stake is essentially the integrity of the administration of justice. If you cannot trust in the integrity of a Director of Public Prosecutions to apply their powers and their discretion without fear or favor, then it really calls into question the very rule of law itself and the very foundation of our legal order. Because, of course, the power to prosecute is arguably one of the most important powers that the state actually has and can exercise against citizens and against individuals. And so the idea that you could have a director of public prosecutions whose integrity and fitness for office is called into question, and also the idea that they would abuse that power given the discretion, the very wide discretion that they're afforded both by legislation and the Constitution itself, would be deeply, deeply troubling. And so in many, many ways, this sort of cuts to the heart of the rule of law, and particularly the administration of justice in this respect.
Advocate Breytenbach, I suppose, as a parting shot from your side, what in the system that regulates the workings of the NPA, which prosecutes on behalf of the state, what in that system made it possible for someone to rise through the ranks yet face the kinds of allegations that Advocate Chauke faces, as well as, of course, the other former leaders of the NPA who on their own have faced their own allegations and inquiries and probes into their probity? What are those? Are there loopholes there? And to what extent have we tried to close those loopholes over the last while? And what more work still needs to be done? Advocate Breytenbach? All right, it seems we have lost the line. Yeah, all right, I've got you now. Yeah, not the greatest line to Advocate Breytenbach.
Yeah, I heard most of what you said. What allowed you to...
Okay, I can hear you now, Advocate. Please go ahead.
So can you hear?
No, that didn't work out. Dr. Moshikaro, I don't know if you want to tackle that for me very quickly before I release you.
Yes, I'm very happy to. So I think that really points to a failure, I suppose, within the NPA to screen who they promote and who they vest these powers in. And given the particular track record of this particular individual, it does call into question the rationality, at least as a legal standard, of allowing this person to continue in this role as Director of Public Prosecutions, not foregoing the fact, of course, that the Commission has not yet actually conducted its investigation. Yeah. But nonetheless, given the track record of allegations against them, it does call into question exactly how the NPA actually operates, and particularly how they exercise oversight over their promotions processes and with whom they vest these sorts of powers in.
All right. I've got to thank you for your time this afternoon. That's Dr. Moshikaro, a legal analyst and governance expert. And we were joined, of course, by Glynis Breytenbach, former NPA senior prosecutor and now member of parliament on behalf of the DA, as well as Johan Booysen, the former head of the Hawks in KwaZulu-Natal, discussing the inquiry into Advocate Andrew Chauke, the Director of Public Prosecutions in Gauteng.